Hello and welcome. I'm going to be going over how to level edit in my little MegaMan X4 level editor called the Man X4 editor. Let's get things started, shall we? So the first thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to extract the game files. I've already done that ahead of time. If you don't know how to extract it, you can use this extractor right here, or you can use some other extractor. Just make sure the extractor you're using is specifically designed for PS1 games so that the STR and XA files get extracted correctly. So let's let's actually open up the game since we have the game files extracted. And bam. This over here, this is the intro stage. If we press F1 and F2, we can go to different levels, as well as in this files window. This is the mid half of the intro. This is Web Spider stage, Frost Walrus, Split Mushroom, even though you can't really see anything. It is Split Mushroom, Dragoon. Even levels that are not really levels can be level edited. Like, for instance, this is the credits, and this is the weapon get. Player select over here. Boss intro. Yeah, pretty much everything. So this layout tab over here, this is essentially... what the game does is it basically specifies which screens go where. So that's what this tab is for. If we click this button, we can view all the screens in the level, at least in the specific layer. There's 3 background layers. Yeah, we can view all of them. And we can also get the size of the layout by going into the size tab here. This is the width. This is the height. So yeah, and it ends right about here. So basically, if you want to select the screen for pasting, you just right click on it. And if you want to, if you hold shift and right click, that will select the screen in this tab. If you also right click on a button in here instead of left clicking, it will take you to that specific part of the layout in the enemy tab over here, which is pretty handy. Let's get to the screen tab since we're pasting screens and stuff. So the screen tab here, this is essentially MegaMan X4 is tile based. Surprisingly. It's not like the NES games where like it's meta tile based. So all of these tiles are 16 by 16. There's no like tiles within tiles or anything like that. There's also some handy tools you can do. Handy tools in here that help you save time while level editing. You can select a group of tiles by holding left click, and then you can just paste it. You can select a group of tiles from another screen. Hold shift and right click, and then hold shift and left click, and you can paste it. Pretty handy stuff. If you also go in here, you can edit the tile flags. And when I mean tile flags, I'm not referring to the specific tiles in here. It's actually referring to this screen. Actually, the intro stage is a pretty good example of this. We can see here that this is supposed to be all this blue over here is supposed to be transparent. This blue sort of tube. In this window over here, red basically means priority, and blue means transparency. So I can edit the transparency, and I can also edit the priority. So if you know what you're doing, you can make some very nice looking visual effects and stuff in this game. You can also, this isn't what this tab is designed for, but if you have a group of tiles selected, you can edit their colors uh, together, as well as their texture coordinates, but it's not easy to do that in here. And of course, the T page and the collision info. Let's go to the 16 by 16 tab. This tab is pretty much the exact same as this tab. I just moved this over here so that it's a little bigger, and we actually have the texture pages here. So you can actually see like what you're replacing the graphics with. But yeah, everything still applies here, just like in that other tab. But yeah, instead of like manually editing these numbers here, I can just click, and bam, it's edited. Don't have to mess around with any numbers or anything. Let's go on to the CLUT, the color lookup table tab. The thing with the PS1 is that you don't actually have to. You actually don't have to specify. You don't have to use palettes if you really don't want to, but the game uses palettes because it saves memory. And obviously, it's also faster for the GPU to draw. These are all the palettes you have access to. 64 palettes for the background and 64 for pretty much everything else. Pretty much the everything else. But yeah, one other thing you might have noticed up here is that this is the palette file. X and 0 actually have their own separate palette files to help speed up with palette editing. Let's just say I wanted to change, this is white, I want to change this to red. Or I guess orange is close enough. Now, that didn't edit it for X's palette, but if I go to this gear icon here and then click this button, it'll get copied over to X's palette. You can also import palettes from GIMP text files and YYCHR files, as well as export a text file. Yeah, just click that, and bam, it got edited over to X's color palettes. Let's go over to the enemy tab here, and also go back to layer 1. So essentially, this tab, you see these outlines here, these colored outlines. Red essentially means this is a main object, so usually something that can like damage you. Purple is miscellaneous, or at least that's the best I can categorize it as. Pink is effect object, like for instance, this is the checkpoint here. Blue is item object. The door should be right here, or the boss gate, whatever you prefer to say. There's many different types of objects, but the main ones you need to think about are the main objects, effect objects, and the item objects. So I can move this around. I can change its ID. I don't have everything here, but I do have quite a lot labeled. You can also edit the var setting. What this really does depends on what you're trying to spawn. For instance, for the checkpoint here, the lower 4 bits determines which checkpoint value you want, so checkpoint 1, 2, 3, or 4. And the upper 4 bits determine whether you want it to be based off of MegaMan's Y position or X position. But yeah, you can also edit the start enemies. So basically, you notice how there's all these ID freeze or whatever here. This is for the color lookup table anime object. X4 is really weird. For some reason, it likes to use objects to change palettes and stuff. But yeah, if you want to disable them, just get rid of these. There is also a limit to how many enemies you can have per first half plus second half. I might make a patch to get around that in the future. It'd probably be somewhere in this tool section. But most of the time, you don't really have to think about it too much. I think most levels, first half plus mid half, have like at least like 100. I think Frost Walruses has like a lot, like 300 or 400 if you can include both halves. But yeah, before we get to these next three slightly more complicated tabs, let's go over to the tools section. Also, let me close this because nothing in the tools section is connected to the actual editor, at least like not in here. So we can extract textures, we can replace textures. I'm gonna extract some textures from the arc folder. Just select all of them. You don't need to worry about which ones to select and which ones not to select. I have my texture folder over here. And bam, it's already done. And this is normal. Those are actually the palette files, and as well as some other files. And let me tell you, this game is a piece of crap. For some reason, even though these have the .arc extension on them, they're not actually arc files at all for some flippin' reason. And you know what? Check this out. Flippin' piece of crap game. In here in Web Spider stage, for some reason the game decides to like place screens that don't exist. Like I'm serious. Like the max screen here is screen ID 78. There's no 79 or 7A. Do not exist. And the game doesn't even do it just in Web Spider Stage 2. It does it like here in the player select. It's like what were they thinking? Piece of crap game. But wait, right. YouTube video. A professional YouTuber. We also have the textures over here. This is everything. For all the levels and pretty much everything else that isn't a level, like boss textures. A lot of textures. It doesn't include the colors though, since they're 4 BPP. They're not like 15 BPP or anything like that, or 24 BPP. Right. Let's get to the last few tools. So you can actually edit the game's text data. In particular, they're stored in the player files. So this is X's player file. There's one for 0, and there's also one for X with his ultimate armor. So we can go through each of the individual text boxes. And all we really have to do, I don't know, let's go, where's that HQ message? Yeah, there it is. Let's go to over here. Let's change this to 4. Change this to 2. Change this to 0. change this to 6 and change this to 9. But yeah, make sure you also keep track of these flags here. This determines, like, this checkbox over here means the text data the entire text is done, and this end box flag is specifically for this current text box. So yeah. If you can also let's just say I wanted to insert a box here. Click this button, it'll insert a box here. You can see that this text box is still here. And then we can add more characters if we really want to. Add more for 2069. add more memes and more memes. There's a lot of fun stuff you can do with this. And once you're done, just click this export to ARC button, and it'll export it to the player file you select. If you want to remove boxes, all you need to do is go over to where you have your end box flag character and click this button. It'll trim off all the other boxes that are in the that you made, or I guess that the game has made. So yeah, just export to ARC. And if we go and open that file again, or 2069. Oh wait, I don't think I actually checkmarked it. Yeah, there we go. See, that got trimmed. Yeah, but yeah, be sure you keep track of these flags and stuff. Now, there's some very fun other fun things you can do with this editor, but I need to set up a few things, so I'm gonna be back real quick. All right, I'm back. So I got Redux boot up, as well as my PS1 booted up. My editor also has a little real-time level editing with both my PS1 as well as Redux. In order to enable this feature, you need to, of course, you need Redux, of course. You need to go into emulation, you need to enable its web server. Over here in the settings section, you also need to make sure, if you're using the Ultimate Armor, click this flag. If you want to use knobs with a PS1, click this one. If you don't want to use it, if you just want to use Redux instead, just leave that unchecked. So let's try, I guess we can try editing this screen. Maybe put this group of tiles here. Maybe make it solid. 38 is a solid tile. Now you can click this button or press Ctrl R and watch the magic happen. Voila! Wait, can I get up there? Okay, yeah, I can still get up there. But yeah, it's also important that you have the correct player file select. So here on my PS1, I'm playing as 0, so I need to have 0 selected here in the CLUT color lookup table tab. Check mark of that. Press Ctrl R. Any moment.
One eternity later.
Okay, that didn't take that long. It took like 40 seconds or something. But yeah, actual PS1. The reason why it's so slow is because this is a serial cable, and I mean serial's pretty slow in general, but this serial cable I'm using specifically only has one conductor sending data to the PS1. To give you an idea how low of a bandwidth that is, I think HDMI has like 21. It's definitely somewhere in the double digits. But yeah, I mean, I highly doubt you folks are going to be using this with an actual PS1, but hey, the option is there. Let's switch back to Redux. I also wanted to boot up Redux mainly to better explain what this whole camera tab is all about. So you can see that green box over there. That green box basically resembles the settings in this tab over here. We can also see that there's a 0 there. That's the effect object 0 that changes the border. We can also see that its var is set to 2. That essentially means that it's using the camera trigger settings 2. So this one. This is the right side, left side, bottom side, top side of this green box you can see here. So if I wanted to, let's just say, edit this so that instead of like having to do a Shoryuken and then a Nova Strike to get over that, like they do in the speedrun, I would have to change this bottom side variable, change it to a lower number like 250. Hit Control R, and yeah, look at that. We can just walk by the boss now. No need to do any fancy skips. We can also change the border settings. These are global across all stages, which is good or bad depending on how you use it. This trigger setting is using number 22 and number 24. So go to 22. This changes the left border to 1,200 hex. And 24 does the same thing, but the right with the right side border. So basically, that's how the game keeps track of like how far the camera can go left, how far the camera can go right, how far it can go down or up. We can actually see the top of the box if we edit that info here in the screen tab. So let's see, the border top is right here. Let's go back to checkpoint 3. Yeah, I was on the wrong checkpoint. The border top, set that to 0. When you click this go to checkpoint button, it's only going to refresh the data in the spawn tab, the background tab. It's not going to do anything else for any of the other tabs, so just keep that in mind. Click that button, and then bam, we're back here again. And as you can see here, we can see other parts of the level that you normally can't see. You know, right around here. And there, you see, you can see that we just you can barely get above that. Whoa. But yeah, most of these settings are pretty self-explanatory. This collision timer here is essentially for telling X when to start checking for a floor. Because even though you set the Y position here, it's not like exactly where he's gonna spawn or where he's gonna land. Yeah, that's a better way of saying it. Where he's gonna land. This special table over here is for Peacock stage, Split Mushroom stage, and refights. So let's see. Let's go to 3. Set this to, I don't know. Let's set this to 0, or not 0 to 200 hex. And bam, see, X was just a little bit higher. A little bit higher. That's because I added this value here. Over here in the background tab, so here, you remember how I was talking about the priorities and stuff in this tab here? You basically, it's a little hard to explain this unless you understand how the PS1 works, but basically the GPU's commands are sent via a linked list. So you can see here, if I open GPU logger and enable logging, these are all the commands that are being sent to the GPU. Rectangle commands, display mode commands. So basically, this number here basically says, like, this is basically the ordering table entry for if the layer's screen tile is set to priority mode. Basically this red stuff here. This is his ordering table for normal priority. This is also a reverse ordering table, so lower value means higher priority, if that makes sense. Yeah. And you can also go through the 3 different layers, 0 to 2. You can also set the background scroll type. I don't know all of them, unfortunately, but I know that 5 does nothing. But even if that, don't fall for that. Even if it says 5, there's most likely some effect object that's going to be editing it instead. This is the transparency type. If you understand the PS1's texture page command, which is E1, it's basically the I think this is the setting here. It's basically how the transparency is calculated. This is the same thing here, but except for the objects. Over here in this tab, it's a little hard to explain what this is for once we go over the Sprite Tool. Here in the camera and spawn tab, you can also extract the checkpoints so that you can edit which stages have a certain amount of checkpoints, and you can do the same thing but with the camera tab so that you can edit not only the amount of border IDs for each trigger, but the amount of triggers per level, if that makes sense. So first you need to select an exe that isn't modified, extract that. These will make 2 new folders, checkpoint tab, and this is going to make a camera folder. And now, once we have those extracted, now reopen up your folder. And now next time we click this button, we should be able to actually edit the amount of triggers and stuff these stages have. I'll mess around with this a bit later, but this is mainly just for customization purposes. There's no real way for me to tell like how many stages each checkpoint has unless I go through the game and manually check. That's why I extract them first and separate those into separate files and stuff, kind of like what Lunar Magic does. Kinda. But yeah, let's move on to let's go back to the tool section. There was actually one somewhat important tool. Somewhat important? More like very important. Very important tool I forgot to go over. This is the Sprite Editor. Essentially, if you're paying close attention to here in the Color Lookup Table tab, only the textures for the objects that are actually in the level are in the particular stage or in the GPU for that level. Let's go look at VRAM over here. There's a split mushroom stage, but whatever, same situation. It looks a little bit messed up here because this is 16 BPP. Let's go over to 4 BPP since that's what that's the format of the graphics. There's X, there's his, there's the Shoryuken, Rising Fire, whatever it's called. It's Shoryuken. And here's all the enemies, and here's all the background textures. So essentially, we gotta add all that information back into the game. Man, I'm losing track of how many things I have open. Yeah, I have a lot of stuff planned for this tool, but this is what it can do currently. A lot of stuff planned for this editor. So if you click the open button, you can go and select a level file or pretty much any file. Oh, actually, you know what's cool? You can actually use this tool to extract data from the title screen. The title screen is stage E. Bam. Let's go to a natural level though. Let's try. I don't know. Let's try magma dragoons stage. So that's stage 4, and select the correct palette file. So you can go through all the sprite data for all these enemies. Even if you have all the textures and stuff in here, it's not enough information to tell the game like how to stitch everything together. That's mainly what this tool is for. So what I'm essentially going to do is I'm going to go through, this is the item carrier, I think it's called. I'm going to go through all its sprite frames until I get, yeah, that. If you get this error, that probably means that you went past all frames. So what I need to do is go back to the previous frame and then export the frames to confirm. That's the total amount of frames. And then select the save location so that we can add it in when we're in create mode. I actually think I already have it in here. Maybe I'll put this in Google Drive or something in the description so that people don't have to do this again. I mean, I don't have, I mean, okay, this didn't actually take me that long. There's not, the game usually just reuses the same enemies and stuff. I don't have all the bosses though. That's one thing I definitely don't have in here. But yeah, you select your frames, save location. You also right-click here, and you can export the palette. And I already did this earlier, but you also need to get the textures themselves. I have this displays where the texture coordinate is. This is just in Y in pixels. This value and this value, which doesn't do anything in open mode. These two are in decimal. They're not in hex like it usually is for my stuff. But yeah, now that we're done with that, let's go into create mode. So click this button, and then we already have one slot already added, which is slot 0. So click the add textures button. Go to where you have, in this case, my textures. Let's add the ride armor. Oh wait, no, the other one. I think it's called like Raiden or something. Yeah, Raiden. Add in its frames, and then add its actual palettes. Bam. So now that that's done, we can also add in additional slots by just clicking this button right here, and then going to the next one. Generally speaking, I would not recommend trying to put this value any higher than 9. Sometimes the game does that, but you really gotta know what you're doing, since there's only enough palettes for 9 slots. So if you end up adding more than 9, you're gonna be overriding some of the palette for the background. But yeah, let me add the mets here. Add frames. Go to where I have my mets saved. It should be right here. Add the textures, and then add the palettes, and bam. Now this is technically ready to export to a level. What I want to do now is click export to arc, select the level file you want to export to, In this case, we're going to be messing with the intro stage for now. That's stage 0. Select its color palette file, which is this file over here. You don't have to do this. In fact, if you're editing the tile screen with this tool, I would not recommend doing that, just because it's just easier to do it outside of this tool, since the tile screen palettes, they're not. It doesn't use sort of fixed palettes like these. Oh wait. It uses fixed palettes versus all these objects have calculated palettes. The game has a very special system of calculating the palettes and stuff. We'll go over that in a sec. So click this button, export to that. Now if we close this and reopen it, go back to stage 0. Damn, it actually worked. Now there is one other important thing I do really need to mention. In order for the enemies and stuff to know like where their sprite data is and where their palette is, you need to go over to here in the background tab. I had nowhere else to put this. I know this probably should have been in like this tab, but there was nowhere else to put this. Go in here and manually set the IDs. I think the Raiden's ID is 47, if I'm remembering things correctly. Yeah, it's 47. So you go in here and we set 47 to ID here, and the Mets is F. So that basically tells the game, like, oh, I have the Raiden enemies in slot 0, and I have the Mets in slot 1. It's really nice that the game has this system of sort of figuring out where things go and stuff, because in the NES Mega Man games, you can't directly specify, like, you can't have certain combinations of enemies without running into glitchy graphics, because some of them use very specific tiles in the PPU's memory, which is nice. Now, I'm gonna have a bit of fun level editing and seeing what I can make. I'll BRB. Alright, now I'm back. I got a lot of stuff done in between that little cut. But now that we're back, we need to put everything back into the game. We obviously have the files here. We're going to be using this little application called mkpsxiso. I'll put it in the description. It has no GUI or anything, so I'm actually going to be using these batch files to do all the work. We're also going to be using a combination of my own tool to put everything back together. So first off, we need to execute this make LBA.BAT. Just double click on it. And I'll make this little file here called LBA.H. Then we go in here in my tools section, and then we go to ISO tools, fix MegaMan X4 LBA, select the exe, which is this .61 file or whatever. That's just a game ID for licensing purposes. And then go to the header file. Then that's done. And then once you're done with that, click this other batch file. These will all be in the description, but it's a pretty simple process. You also, I already have the super uncreative, boring name, gosh darn creator. I already have it. It's just defined in my environment variables. If you don't have it defined in there, then you just need to put it in this folder with the batch files. So click on this one. It'll read in this XAML file, and it'll make this file and this file right here. So now that we have those files, let's open Redux back up. Man, I've been doing this PS1 stuff, and I can't believe I have not put that as a shortcut until today. Anyways, that iconic boot up sequence. So iconic. And select X, no ultimate armor. Oh, gosh darn PS1 games with their load times. Big Chungus has been spotted at Island 42069. Oh my gosh, it's big Chungus, big Chungus, big big Chungus. Every day. Yeah, I also changed the music, if you haven't already realized. And yeah, best background of all time. Got him. But yeah, this is the test level I made. I'm not gonna go over how to make XA files, since if you already have the PS1 SDK, it's incredibly simple. What I will mention is that if you want to edit the sound info, you need to go into here into the game settings, and you need to go to song length settings in here, and you need to go into stage ID songs if you want to change the volume, as well as which stages uses which song. But yeah, I think that concludes. I know this has been a kind of lengthy video, but I did want to I did want to explain things a little better than the last time I did this type of YouTube video. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Do all that good YouTube stuff. Check me out on Twitch and Twitter. All you, and thanks everybody for watching.